Why, hello there. Welcome back to yet another video on the most punctual channel on probably the entire internet. Recently, I've been doing some thinking, and I've been thinking about you and I. Mostly about how little we truly know about each other. Which for me, I don't really blame myself, because this is very one-sided, and I don't really get to know who you are, Jerry. The odds of anyone named Jerry watching this video are slim, but I really hope that joke lands for someone. Anyways, I've been thinking maybe it'd be kind of fun and helpful for you guys to know a little bit more about me. It's always nice to know about that guy that shows up in your sub box once every couple months. Instead of doing a Q&A, I'm going the old-fashioned route and finding a good old personality questionnaire on the internet. This particular survey is called 25 Questions No One Ever Asks, so this is by far information that you need desperately. Let's get right into it. Question 1. Do you sleep with your closet doors open or closed? Well, I sleep with my closet doors however I left them when I lay down in bed at night. Truth be told, I don't really think that's one of those things that affects the quality of sleep that I receive. Quite frankly, I don't think about it very often. However, that is one of those things I thought quite a bit about when I was younger. My young brain followed the same general school of thought from the movie Monsters, Inc. I'm assuming all of you've seen Monsters, Inc. If you haven't, where have you been? But if not, the concept is monsters come into our world through portals that are basically bedroom doors. And my little 8-year-old brain thought, you know what? A monster can't come into our world if I leave my door open, because then the portal is rendered ineffective, essentially. Of course, now that I'm older, I know that all of that was nonsense. Or maybe it's the reason I'm still around. Who knows? Question 2. Do you take the shampoo and conditioner bottles from hotels? Easy answer, yes I do, every single time. Do I use them? No, not at all. Truth be told, I can't tell you where they end up after I come back home. But taking the shampoo bottles from hotels, I'm imagining the same feeling you get from conquering another land and getting the spoils of war. Those shampoo bottles are mine by right, and the $300 I paid to stay at this luxurious hotel, so I'll be damned if I don't take them with me. Question 3. Have you ever stolen a street sign before? No, I haven't, but it's not because I didn't think about it. Now, I know stealing street signs is super illegal, and I would have never thought to do it in any other circumstances. But at the end of my street where I grew up, there's this corner that nobody seems to be able to see through because of giant bush. And one guy just took a really sharp left turn and knocked the street sign out of the ground. Honest to God, that street sign with the stop sign and our actual street lay on the ground for a good 6 months before the city did anything to repair it or replace it. Thinking back on it, I probably could have taken it, and not a single person would have been able to frame me for it. Question 4. Would you rather be attacked by a big bear or a swarm of bees? Very easy answer, big bear, because a swarm of bees is terrifying. Sure, they're smaller, but because they're smaller, they're harder to hit, and there's a bunch of them, thus the swarm. Not to mention I've never been stung by a bee, so I don't know that I'm allergic. And I might die faster from bee toxin than I would from bears. Question 5. What's my biggest pet peeve? Fun fact, I have answered this question on a bunch of those personality questions that you take during school at the beginning of the year. My biggest pet peeve is the fact that I never know what my biggest pet peeve is. Never once have I answered that question truthfully. I've always made something up. So I guess this is the first time I've answered it truthfully. And my biggest pet peeve is not knowing what my biggest pet peeve is. So there we go. Question 6. Do you still watch cartoons? Yes, I do. In fact, I'm actually currently watching through the entirety of Avatar: The Last Airbender with my girlfriend Michelle. She's never finished it all the way through, so we're binging this currently. And after, we're going to move on to The Legend of Korra that my friend Jesse gifted me for my birthday. So, yes, I still watch cartoons. Question 7. Where would you bury hidden treasure if you had some? If I had buried treasure, I would actually bury it in my parents' backyard. Not for any, meaningful significance, but only because recently, after some snow, a giant hole appeared in my parents' backyard. 6 feet deep into the ground, there's just a giant hole. They had to come collapse it in. It was an old well or sewage system or something. What's crazy is that hole ended up where our family always sets up our pool, so God knows something could have gone horribly wrong if it had have collapsed any sooner. That hole, though, definitely where I would have buried hidden treasure, mostly because I would have saved the time of not having to shovel an actual hole. Question 8. What movies could you watch over and over again and still love? 3 movies off the top of my head. Jumanji, the original, it's actually right there on VHS. My absolute favorite movie of all time. Couple other classics. I really love The Mask with Jim Carrey. And the original Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies. If I had to pick a recent movie that just came out, probably Thor Ragnarok, because that movie is just a blast all the way through, and it's just hilarious. Question 9. Was I ever a Boy or Girl Scout? Kind of. I was in the Boy Scouts, however, I never made it to the rank of Boy Scout. I was a Cub Scout through an after-school program at my school in elementary school, and it was really fun. The only 2 memorable things that happened to me, however, I guess 3, is selling popcorn, which is way less cool than Girl Scout cookies. What are you doing, Boy Scouts? 2, we had to create a script and act it out in front of our group, and I totally just ripped off the plot of an episode of Ben 10. And 3, we went on a field trip to Six Flags, which was the very first time I'd ever gone to Six Flags. And at this time, there was a 4D Stargate ride. It's one of those rides where it's like a movie plays and the cinema, the seats sort of shake and move and you feel like you're in it. My mom was the chaperone of my Boy Scout group, actually, and I pitched a fit about wanting to sit next to her. So this other kid named Michael, who was going to end up sitting next to her, ended up having to sit on the other side of the aisle. And wouldn't you know it, by the end of that ride, the other side of the aisle broke, and none of their seatbelts would release, so they got latched in for a good 45 extra minutes. So I avoided being stuck in a Stargate ride, because I'm such a mama's boy, so shout out to you, Mom. Question 10. When was the last time you wrote a letter to someone? I actually know this verbatim. I don't know the year. Had to be before 2008. I was in elementary school, and my entire third grade class, third grade, my entire third grade class wrote letters to George W. Bush. Only like 2 people received a letter back. But one of my friends at the time actually had just came back from vacation, and his letter in its entirety was just the question, "So I heard that you don't like black people. Is that true or no?" Funny enough, he wasn't one of the students that received a letter back, so we'll never know, George Bush. Question 11. Have I ever gotten a speeding ticket? No, I haven't, thank God. However, I have gotten a warning, and the reason why is really embarrassing and stupid, but it makes me laugh. So last year, my friend Ashley, and her sister Krista made a trip to Dallas, Texas, which is a 16-hour drive from where we live. And by the time I got back, I had been driving straight for 16 hours at 80 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, depending on speed limits on highways. The very first thing we did when we got back was stop at McDonald's and get food, and I got the best McChicken I've ever had in my entire life. I was so hungry and tired from the road that I immediately started eating the McChicken while I was leaving. I got so into this McChicken, I guess I just didn't notice I was going a little bit over the speed limit because my foot was just used to the highway speed, and a cop pulled me over. I got so anxious. I was like, damn it, this is my luck. I went the entire road trip fine, and this happens to me. Thankfully, I had all my stuff out, and I guess I went total white person, so says Ashley. I was like, yes sir, and I got out of my ticket, thank God. But had it happened, it would have been because of a McChicken, and I kind of... Well, if it happened, I wouldn't be telling this story right now. Question 12, best thing to eat for breakfast? No doubt, frozen leftover pizza. You can fight me on that, I don't care. I'm not a big fan of breakfast foods. Frozen pizza. That is my answer. No takebacks. When you were a kid, what did you dress up for as Halloween? I dressed up for a lot of things for Halloween as a kid, mostly because you are a kid for a vast span of time. My first costume was in my fetal form, in my mother's stomach. She painted a pumpkin on her tummy. One of my first memorable costumes, I was Blue from Blue's Clues. One year I was Woody from Toy Story. And then this one year I was just very unmemorable. I was the Blue Power Rangers SPD Ranger. First of all, who goes out of their way to be blue? Yeah, blue is my favorite color, that was probably why, but red is the leader. Be red. That is also the same year I tripped over a concrete goose in someone's yard and spilled all of my candy. That is a story for a different time. Let's move on. Question 14. Which are better, Legos or Lincoln Logs? Very easy answer, Legos. The fact that this is even a question kind of blows my mind. Legos are the OG, they're the better toy, they're colorful, they're more fun to play with. Usually I'm a pretty forward-thinking guy, accepting other people's opinions, but this one, no. If you think Lincoln Logs are better than Legos, your opinion is wrong. That's all I'm going to say on this matter. Fight me on it. Question 15. Are you stubborn? No, I don't really think I'm that stubborn. If you think Lincoln Logs are better than Legos, your opinion is wrong. Question 16. Do you take a vitamin daily? No, unless you count Prozac as a vitamin, which... So I guess the answer is no. However, if I just stumbled across an unopened bottle of those Flintstone gummy vitamins, you're damn right I'm taking vitamins every single day, at least until that bottle's gone. Question 17. What was your first concert? So this is kind of a funny story, at least it is to me. My town used to throw a music festival every single summer that took up the majority of downtown. But back when I was in 5th grade, I begged my mom so bad to take me that summer to see Daughtry. They had just been on American Idol, I think, the year before, and, like, I think they had one song popular on the radio at the time, and I just wanted to see them. I don't even know why. I don't think I was that big of a fan. I actually didn't end up seeing them, sadly, but I did go to a concert at that same festival next year, but it wasn't Daughtry, it was on the complete other scale. My first concert was Vanessa Hudgens. I think it was her first album after the whole High School Musical craze happened. I believe I have a poster somewhere at my mom's house, and if I ever find it, that's definitely going on my bedroom door. Question 18. Ever take dance lessons? Formally, no. However, in elementary school... Wow, a lot of these questions are going back to elementary school for some reason. Anyways, in elementary school, I was part of the after-school program, and there was this guy who would teach basically hip-hop dance. Of course, at that time, the popular dance was Crank Dat by Soulja Boy. So, at the time, when I was in 5th grade, I could verbatim do the entire Crank Dat dance, like the whoo and all. Can't do it anymore. Don't know why I would even want to. Question 19. Ever won a spelling bee? Yes, actually, I have. Yet again, in 5th grade. I memorized most of the Latin words because I thought those would be the hard ones to remember. They gave you a packet of words, and a lot of them were in Latin for some reason. I went through the process of trying to memorize those, and then the spelling bee was actually just super easy words that I knew how to spell. I ended up winning and then going to the city championship for the spelling bee. I was the second person called to the microphone, and I was the first person out in the entire spelling bee. I remember it very fondly. The word I got out on was manicure. I spelled it M-A-N-A cure, because that's definitely a word a 10-year-old boy knows how to spell. Question 20. Who would you like to see in concert? For sure, Daughtry. Just kidding. If I really had to pick, modern baseball again. Other than that, I'd really like to see Drake or the Arctic Monkeys, because they're one of my favorite bands. Question 21. Can you swim well? If we're talking about pure buoyancy because of my weight, yeah, sure. I can float. In terms of technique, no, I cannot swim very well. Question 22. Ever won a contest? Yes, actually. I won a few contests in elementary school, one of which was at my school's fun fair. I won a bicycle, which I then proceeded to give away to my best friend at the time because I didn't know how to ride a bike. I also won a second contest that I think my mom entered me in. The prize was a helicopter ride over my town. We went to the Board of Education to pick up our prize, and we never ended up going for some reason. I really don't know why. Maybe my fear of heights wouldn't be so bad had I actually gotten to go in that helicopter ride, but what do I know? Nobody needs to conquer their fears. Question 23. Have you ever cried because you were so happy? Can't think of a moment offhand. Probably the last time I saw a pizza delivery guy walk to my door, though. Question 24. What is your song of the week? I really enjoy the EDM remix of the Yodeling Walmart Boy. Anytime that pops up on my Twitter feed or my Facebook, I watch it all the way through. It makes me laugh so much. And the Yodeling Walmart Boy is from my state, so don't ever say Illinois didn't do anything for you. And last but not least, question 25. Last time you got a portrait taken by a photographer. Now, if we're talking about a portrait in general, it was a family portrait that hangs above a doorway in my parents' house. I don't really care for it. I'm wearing a green shirt I got at Walmart with skulls all over it because I wanted to dress like Zach from Zach and Cody. But if we reword that question to the last portrait that I really enjoyed of myself, it would have to be this picture I got taken of me when I was really little. I was in this goofy blue sweater. I absolutely love that picture, and if this channel ever takes off and I ever make merch, that is going to be the very first thing I sell. Just a plain t-shirt with that picture on it. I'm living for the day that I own that. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about me and what I am about as a person. To end this video off, I'm going to ask you a question that you can respond to in the comments. It's going to be completely off the cuff. Don't know what it's going to be yet. What is your favorite time of the day? Go ahead and leave that in the comments. Sure, it's going to be really interesting. Probably going to be a lot of variety in that.
Smoke weed every day.
Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.